land as do as you please. Joe jumped up into the engine of the train. A bright fire was burning there. It was a steam train. He looked at all the shining handles and wheels. How can I know which is which? Well, said the driver, pointing to the different knobs and handles, there's the starting wheel, and that's to make the whistle go. Oh, you'll enjoy that. And that's to slow it down, and that's to make it go fast. You can't make a mistake. Don't forget to stop at the stations. And look out for the road crossing gates in case they're shut. It'd be dangerous not to take care there. Joe felt really excited. Rick looked up longingly. Joe, could I come too? He begged. Please, let me. I'll just watch you. All right, said Joe. So Rick hopped up onto the engine. Beth, Frannie, Moonface and Silky got into a carriage just behind. The guard ran alongside, waving a flag and blowing his whistle. The signal's down, yelled Rick. Go on, Joe, start her up. Joe twisted the starting wheel. The engine began to chuff, 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 and moved out of the station. Joe really loved the driving. Joe's really driving a train, said Beth. Oh, isn't he clever? It's just what he's always wanted to do. There's a picture of the train in there. Don't get many pictures, do we? The engine began to go very fast, too fast. Joe pulled the go-slow handle and it went more slowly. He was so interested in what he was doing that he didn't notice they were coming to a station, and he shot right through it. Joe! Cried Rick. You're going through the station. The passengers are waiting there and they did look really cross. And oh, look, a lot of them in our train wanted to get out there. Sure enough, quite a number of angry people were looking out of the carriage windows, yelling to Joe to stop. Joe went red. He pulled the stop handle. The engine stopped. Then Joe pulled the go backwards handle, and the train moved slowly backwards to the station and stopped there, and Joe and Rick had the pleasure of seeing the passengers get out and in. The guard came rushing up. You passed the station! You passed the station, he cried. Don't you dare pass my station again without stopping. All right, said Joe. Now then, off we go again. And off they went. Well, keep a lookout for stations, signals, tunnels and road crossings, Rick, said Joe. So Rick stuck out his head through the window and watched. Road crossing, he cried. The gates are shut. Slow down, Joe, slow down. But unluckily, Joe pulled the go-fast handle instead of the go-slow, and the train shot forward quickly. And just as the engine reached the gates, Joe pulled on the brakes. A little man rushed out of a cabin nearby, just as the train came to a halt. You bad driver, he shouted. You might have caused an accident. That was a narrow escape, said Joe. When the road crossing gates were open, Joe started off again. What's coming up now, Rick? Said Joe. A tunnel, said Rick. Whistle as you go in it so nobody gets caught in there, especially if they're working. So Joe made the engine whistle loudly. It really was fun. It raced through the dark tunnel and came out near a station. Stop, Joe, stop, station, said Rick, and Joe stopped. Then on went the train again, whistling loudly, rushing past signals that were down. Then something happened. The go slow and the stop handles wouldn't work. The train raced on and on past stations, big and small, through tunnels, past signals that were up, and behaved just as if it had gone mad. Hey, said Rick in alarm, what's gone wrong, Joe? Joe didn't know. For miles and miles the train tore on, and all the passengers became alarmed. And then, as the train drew near a station, he gave a loud sigh. It ran slowly and then stopped all by itself. And it was at the very same station it had started from. The driver of the train was there waiting. "So you're back again," he said. "My, you've been quick." "Well, the engine didn't behave itself very well," said Joe, stepping down thankfully. "It just ran away the last part of the journey. It wouldn't stop anywhere." "Oh, I dare say it wanted to get back to me," said the driver, climbing into the engine. "It's naughty sometimes. Come along and drive it again with me." "Oh, thank you," said Joe. "I think I've had enough. It was fun, though." Beth, Frannie, Moonface and Silky got out of their carriages. They'd been rather frightened at the last part of the journey, but they thought Joe was very clever to drive the train by himself. They all left the station. "Now what shall we do?" said Moonface. "I want to ride on an elephant," said Frannie at once. "There aren't any," said Beth. But no sooner had she spoken than the children saw 6 big, grey elephants walking solemnly up to them, swaying a little from side to side. "Oh, look, look," yelled Frannie, filled with excitement. "There are my elephants, 6 of them. We can all have a ride." Each elephant had a rope ladder going up to its left side, leading to a little seat which was fixed round the elephant's back. The children, Moonface and Silky, each climbed up the rope ladder and sat on a comfortable seat on the elephant's back. Then the big creatures set off, swaying through the crowds. Oh, it was lovely. Frannie did enjoy herself. She called to the others. "Wasn't this a good idea of mine, everyone? Aren't we high up? Isn't it fun?" "It is fun," said Moonface, who had never even seen an elephant before. And he would certainly never have thought of riding one if he had. "Oh, goodness, my rope ladder's slipped off my elephant. Now she'll never be able to get down. I'll have to ride on this elephant for the rest of my life." Everybody laughed, but Moonface was really alarmed. When the children had had enough riding, they all climbed down their rope ladders, but poor Moonface sat on his elephant, looking very worried. "I tell you, I can't get down," he kept saying. "I'm up here for good." The elephant stood patiently for a while. Then it swung its enormous trunk round, wound it gently round Moonface's waist, and lifted him down to the ground. Moonface was so surprised that he couldn't speak. At last he found his tongue. "What did the elephant lift me down with?" he asked. "His nose?" "No, his trunk," said Joe, laughing. "Didn't you know elephants have trunks?" "No," said Moonface, puzzled. "I'm glad he didn't pack me away as baggage." The children laughed. They watched as the elephant walked off. "What shall we do now?" said Joe. "Rick, what do you want to do?" "Well, I know what I can't do, but I would love to do, and that's wade in the sea." "Oh, that would be nice," said Frannie, who loved wading too. "But there isn't any sea here." Just as she said that, she noticed a signpost near it, and it pointed away from them, and it said, in big letters, "To the sea." "Wow, look at that," said Frannie. "Come on, everyone." And off they all went, running the way the signposts pointed. And after going round 2 corners, there, sure enough, was the blue sea, lying bright and calm and warm in the sunshine. Shining golden sands stretched in the little waves. "Good," cried Rick, taking off his shoes and socks at once. "Come on." Soon everyone was wading in the warm sea. Moonface, Silky had never waded before, but they loved it just as much as the children did. Rick went out so far that he got his clothes soaking wet. "Oh, Rick, you're wet," cried Beth. "Come back." "This is the land of do as you please, isn't it?" said Rick, jumping up about in the water and getting wetter. "Well, I'll get as wet as I like then." "Let's make a huge sandcastle," said Moonface. "Then we can all sit on the top when the sea comes in." "We can't," said Silky, suddenly looking disappointed. "Why not?" cried Joe. "Isn't this the land of do as you please?" "Yes," said Silky, "but it's time we went back to the faraway tree. This land is soon due to move, and nice as it is, we don't want to live here forever." "Gosh, no," said Joe. "Our parents couldn't do without us, Rick. Come back. We're going home." Rick didn't want to be left behind. He waded back once and his clothes were dripping wet. They all made their way to the hole that led down through the cloud to the faraway tree. "We did have a lovely time," sighed Joe, looking back longingly at the happy land he was leaving behind. "It's one of the nicest lands I think we've ever been to at the top of the tree." They all felt tired as they crowded into Moonface's room. "Don't fall asleep before you get home," said the angry pixie. "Take cushions, all of you." They went down the slippery slip, yawning, and they made their way home and fell asleep into bed, tired out but happy. And in the morning, their mother spoke to Rick. "Rick, why are your clothes wet this morning?" "I waded into a deep sea," said Rick, and he couldn't understand why his Aunt Polly said he was a naughty little storyteller. And that's the end of chapter 12. Chapter 13 is the land of toys. I can't wait. Can you?